when I was 7, 8 years old, my mom got separated. I only knew my mom. She would move hell on earth to give us a good time. Like, I know my mom would sacrifice a lot for buying me new cleats. Like, she would do an installment for 2,500 pesos. She would pay it over 1 year.
Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth. This is Across the Line with Chris Greatwich and myself, and this is our first episode, and we have one of the biggest, most controversial stars in Philippine football on the show, Chris.
Stephan Schrock, first up, incredible interview. Where do we start, really? I mean, so much content in there for today's episode. I think one of the most engaging individuals in the Philippine football world. Talked openly about growing up in Germany, which I think the listeners will really enjoy. That aspect of his background, his exciting career with the Azkals, and also his kind of predictions as to how the future for Philippine football will go.
Well, definitely something to look out for. Also, his experience in the Bundesliga, where he played with some of the biggest names in world football. And if you want us to continue doing this, and you can subscribe on our YouTube channel, download the episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on Spotify. You all can also like our Facebook page and share the videos as we continue bringing you Across the Line. And this should be a fun episode, definitely. Listeners will be looking out for this.
Yeah, let us know how you find the episode. Hopefully you enjoy it. Fingers crossed you do. Yeah, today we've got a very special guest, a player who I've had the pleasure of playing alongside, and most recently had the misfortune of having to coach, a very difficult and complicated character. That is Stephan Schrock. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
I want to start really with a game that really catapulted you into the hearts and the minds of the Philippine football public, which was the World Cup qualifier in Kuwait. It's a game that is synonymous with a wonderful goal that you scored that at the time was potentially going to lead us to the World Cup. It didn't quite end up that way, but I want you to describe that goal, because that goal, I think, was a very poignant moment in Philippine football recent times, and obviously one that was probably quite relevant for your own career.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when it was close to halftime and Chiffy was chasing down the ball on the left side. Referee should have stopped the game probably 3 times. Phil got fouled, Chiffy got fouled, and then somehow we recovered it. And I took a shot, I took a try, and then as soon as the ball left my foot, I knew it will hit the target. And it was the crowd was amazing in that day. It was sold out in Rizal. My mom was under the fans, which was a very, very proud moment for me, and I hope for the nation as well.
Well, I remember that one because I think the night before, a few nights before, you arrived before the game because you missed the first leg of that game in Kuwait, and then you come here.
You and Ali were suspended.
Yeah.
They got suspended because of the Sri Lanka, a couple of yellow cards against Sri Lanka. And then we were trailing like 3-0 after the first leg, and I interviewed you that time, and then you said you didn't come here if you thought we didn't have a chance. And what was your thought process coming into that match, just because we were trailing with a big 3-0 deficit?
Yeah, I had the same discussion with my club back in Germany. They're like, hey, you guys 3-0 down. You rather stay and rest because, of course, 18 hours traveling and then the time difference might be a huge issue for you. If you arrive Tuesday in the Philippines, play Wednesday, and then coming back to Germany would be a little bit too much. But I told them, look, I clearly believe that we can win this game and we can make it in overtime. So that was my approach to the game, and unfortunately we didn't make it, but I never regret taking this step.
That would have been one of your first. You played in the home game against Sri Lanka, so that would have been your second game in the Philippines. What was your sort of impression of football in the Philippines at that time?
To be honest, I thought, like, why am I playing back in Germany? I saw the crowd, I saw the fans, I saw the enthusiasm around football. So I was thinking I'm wasting my best years probably in Germany being one of millions playing football, and then here in the Philippines, I remember Ali. The first thing I saw coming off the airport was Ali on a big billboard. Um, I think it was Bench doing
Okay, yeah.
Bench commercial.
Was he topless?
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I like I said, it was never a regret for me or feeling back then, even though I was jet lagged for like 2 weeks arriving back in Germany. It was the best day in my Philippine Azkals career.
What was it about the whole sort of atmosphere at that time that you were able to connect with? Because obviously you played football in front of big crowds before when you played in Germany. What was it about being in the Philippines that resonated with you? What was it that made you feel so special?
I never expected this. I never expected having a sold-out stadium in the Philippines and having that much hype around us. So when I arrived, I noticed the lobby is full of fans, of media. Going to the training was always like you have to leave 15 minutes earlier before the bus departures because there's so many people asking for pictures and everything. That's not the way the German approaches the club teams or the national teams even. Everything is shut down, everything is quiet, and then when you arrive in the Philippines, so much love and so much energy you feel from the people, and then it was just amazing.
That was really a good time for Philippine football, but over the past few years, it's tapered off a bit. But for you, Schrocky, how did it feel, stepping out and then knowing these Filipino players and playing with them? And I understand you knew about some of the Filipino foreigners coming in, but you played alongside the likes of Shifi Kaligdong and some of the legends from the local players, homegrown stars.
There was always a small gap between the Phil foreigners and the local players, but I think when I came in, we could regroup everything a little bit. We had good understanding with everyone. I remember Etza, the goalkeeper. He was the one forcing everybody to sit at the same table. But obviously, it's easier to speak the language, the first language together, which makes me with the Phil Germans and the Phil British guys. We had a lot, and then the locals were just sitting alone. And then somehow it got all together, and with them it was much more fun. It is, the local players, they have a different approach to the game, not that professional, not that strict, not that hard-headed, and not that stuck-minded. So it was a lot of fun. And then having Anton back then, Ali with us, it was just amazing. Really, really an outstanding experience.
I think it's always quite a unique experience with us because obviously normally when you have a national team, it's obviously made up of people from one nation, right? Whereas us, obviously we all have the attachment to the Philippines, but most of us grew up in different countries. How did you personally find it in a group where we're all connected by the Philippines, but we're all brought up and raised from different countries? How did you find that dynamic when you first came to the camp?
It was it's interesting, it's unique, like you said, having 6 players grew up in Europe, 3 probably somewhere else from the US, and then the local race players. It makes us so special, and having all the love for the country unites us, and then we found a way to bring the energy to the pitch, and that's what gives us strength. Especially Rob was always there, Rob Gear with his speeches to us. So it was outstanding for us.
And I thought the first time you suited up was against Sri Lanka, right? But from what I heard, if this story is true, you were here years prior to that, trying to secure your papers to play for the Philippines, even before the miracle in Hanoi happened. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, actually. It must have been like 2009, 2008, somewhere there. Back then, I think Castillejo was the coach, and Martinez was the president of the federation. So he was trying to help me to get my papers done. but unfortunately my mom had a German passport only back then, so it was quite difficult to get the papers process here in the Philippines. So we just had to do it first in back in Europe or back in Germany, and then we could move on.
What was it that made you want to play for the Philippines? Because we've had this conversation before. I remember before the Hong Kong game, Shockey and I had a conversation about whether or not he would take 10 caps playing for the German national team or take 50 playing for the Philippines. So what is it about the Philippines that is attractive to you, and why did you decide to try to pursue suiting up for the Azkals?
No, it all started out in my childhood, basically. My mom and my dad separated when I was 8-9 years old, so I grew up with my mom. My mom took a lot of sacrifices for me and my sister, and I owe her everything, basically. She was the one pushing me to go to the trainings, to attend the games, to being good in school. She raised me the Filipino way, and I owe her everything. So that's why I always felt more Filipino than German, actually, because I never got really in touch after the divorcement with my real dad.
With that, then, I know you've been quite outspoken. I think there's been some times where some sections of the media have been critical of people not singing the national anthem, for example. And I know you spoke out about that during this most recent Asian Cup campaign. How do you feel when people sort of question not just yourself but other Phil foreigners with regards to how Filipino they are? How does that sort of make you feel?
To me, honestly, there was a stupid headline they pulled out from nowhere, because I grew up in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
My first language was Germany.
Mm-hmm.
My mom spoke Bisaya to me until I was 4 years old. So I was having lack of German language. The teacher of my kindergarten or pre-nursery thing, they told us, look, Mom, better you speak German to him because he won't understand. Later on in my career or later on in my youth, it turns out I just don't want to follow the instructions. I would understand what the teachers were saying.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So just in order to don't disrespect the national anthem by having some lines I cannot pronounce properly or something, I don't sing it. But I played for Germany youth level as well. So I never sing the German national anthem either. So it's not because I don't know the anthem of Germany. It's just because I feel more Filipino than German.
Okay. So we're talking about your Filipino roots, right? And then, what was your childhood, like when you came here with your mom? I think you told me you had a couple of visits here. Where were you? What did you do here during that time?
I think we went here twice only. After the divorcement, of course, the money was a little bit short. We basically couldn't even afford to take a bus or something going from A to B in my town. So imagine paying a flight for 3 people going to the Philippines is quite hard. But whenever I went to the Philippines, we went to Cebu and Mindanao, North Cotabato, where my mom was born and raised. She was in Cebu. So it was overwhelming the way my family approached me, and I will never forget this. These moments I will carry forever, because I expected it in a different way. The Germans are quite cold towards their own family, but once I arrived, it was like I grew up with them. It was hugs, kisses, taking care of everything. So the family made it really special for me here in the Philippines.
It's like a fiesta when you came, huh?
Yeah, of course.
All the food and then everyone welcoming you.
Yeah. My grandma was alive back then when I first entered the Philippines. I think I was 8, 9, 6 years, somewhere there, old, and it was really amazing to feel this family, the connection, and I owe them for that.
Oh, let's move on to his career. You got a question?
Yeah, I'm always really intrigued to find out a little bit more about the player's background. I'm quite heavily involved with youth football, as you know. And you sort of touched upon it a little bit there with growing up in Germany. What was it like for you growing up? What was it like for a young Stephan Schrock growing up in Germany, and not necessarily just as a footballer, but as a young child?
It was after the divorcement, obviously a little bit tougher than before. My dad was a professional boxer, and he worked beside that, so we had quite good money. So after my mom divorced to him, or they got divorced, he was not willing to support the family anymore. So we depended on social welfare, and my mom would work 10, 12 hours a day, and I was taking care of my little sister. While taking care, I sit her next to the football cage and then let her watch me playing for 4 hours. And yeah, we went to a bad place, a bad area in my city, where I was literally the only one with a German name. So there was a lot of Moroccans, Turkish people, Serbians, and all kinds of Africans. So I was the only white kid basically. So was tough, but it was also a good experience for me, because once you bring a ball everywhere, you speak the same language all of a sudden, and then football helped me a lot everywhere.
I had no idea that your father was a boxer.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Let's explore that one a little bit more. So I didn't have little Manny Pacquiao in there.
That's why maybe he's very fiery, and he just wants to, get on it with the other players all the time.
Well, I'm assuming he gets his fire from his Filipino side, to be honest with you. But tell me more about your father then. So he was a boxer. What weight did he fight at?
The lowest, like 60 kilos or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was not only a boxer in the ring, he was it at home as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably why my mom got separated
Right.
from him. But yeah, he was always into sports. He brought me also to boxing trainings and everything. And then one day my mom stepped in and said, "Look, the teacher's calling me every other day because you punch another kid. You have to speak to him first before you punch." And I was like, why is that? Like, my dad does the same. And she said, "Hey, I want you to stop boxing." And so I started playing football, or I was playing football always with my friends in the backyard. So then she said, "Hey, try it at a club level, and then let's see how you turn out there."
Because I saw something online. It was DJK Schweinfurt.
Yeah.
Is that good pronunciation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the first club sort of you experienced in organised football?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how old would you have been when you started there?
I think I was six years old. Yeah, starting with the first grade, and
Yeah.
then 6 years old. It was a small football club in my town. Like, my town is not known for the best football players in the country. I'll tell you
Right.
that. The biggest success was from another club. They played for 1 year second Bundesliga, and then they got relegated to the 4th division year after year. So my club was the highest. I think they played was 9th division in Germany.
I'm sorry. What's this town?
Schweinfurt.
Schweinfurt.
It would be, you won't see it on the map, trust me.
So you started there at 6 years old. Would you say you were fairly talented as a 6-year-old kid going in? Were you one of the better players? I mean, I'm assuming that you had some sort of genetic disposition from your father's side, being a boxer. But did you go in and thought, yeah, I'm one of the better kids here, or were you just another kid just enjoying playing the game of football?
Yeah, I felt I was better than the average
Yeah.
playing there. So year after year, someone approached from bigger clubs to transfer there. But to me, football was about playing with my friends, seeing my friends on a daily basis, and I never thought of turning professional or any of those. It's so far away. Anyways, when you're 8, 9 years old in Germany, there's so much talent and so much skillful players. So I just played with my friends, and then one day I got a call from a bigger club, and my mom said, "Take a shot."
So I'm also intrigued to find out how that happened. I think a lot of people's careers hinge on these sort of sliding doors moments where you don't really realize it at the time, but it's like, wow, my whole life completely changed off the back of that one game or that one person.
If his mom didn't take the call, what would have happened?
Yeah, so I'm always interested at that. So you were at Schweinfurt, and then I'm assuming this is when Greuter came in.
Yeah.
And tried to. So how old were you when they made the initial approach?
I was just 13 years old. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of bad influence, which comes with the area you live. So I used to hang out with much older people,
Right.
like 17, 18, 19 years old
Mhm.
already. They get in touch with drugs, they get in touch with gangs. And I was one of the better football players in the cage in the backyard, so they used to let me play with them,
Right,
basically.
right.
So I got in touch with bad habits.
Mhm.
I was smoking weed at a young age. I was helping out selling grass and marijuana to people in the streets or in the school. So I was about to stop playing football, but besides the club duties I had, I was called up for the best, let's say in the province, the best 20 players in their age group.
Like selection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like, and they were forming the under 16 for the German national team. So I was the only one playing for a shit club, having not enough training, but still I was selected to them. And the coach of that, he went to a second Bundesliga club to take care of the youth academy. So he called me and said, "Look, what you're gonna do next season? You're outstanding player. Well, you need to take the next step." I was like, "Listen, coach, thank you for that, but I'm not interested. I'm dealing with my friends, so I don't want to play football anymore." So he called my mom, and my mom have fixed my football bag, shin guards, everything you need, football cleats. And the coach went there, picked up the stuff, just approached me after school, and literally in front of the door, in front of the school, opens the door and say, "Look, I talked to your mom. You have to go to trial." I was like, no, I don't play football anymore. He said, no, give it a shot. I went there. The coaches like what they saw. So it's a 1 hour drive. So I'm begging him, please don't let me do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to play football
Okay.
anymore. I'm done. And I stepped out. I played. And then the next morning, I would sign a 4 years contract at the youth academy for the second Bundesliga club. And from there on, I have to be grateful, more than grateful and thankful to the person.
Where do you think you would have ended up if you'd have continued going down that path? Because that's a very slippery slope. You know, once people start to go down that track, it's very hard to recover. So if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, where do you think that would have taken you if you'd have continued on that path?
I'm not so sure, but I can tell you my friends I used to hang out with,
Mhm.
they are now mid-30s, 36, 37, somewhere there.
Mhm.
They still live at the mom's place. They still do the same things they used to do, being with drugs or dealing with drugs. Just live for the Friday nights and Saturday nights, basically, being in the casino, gambling,
Yeah.
doing kid stuff, And I'm really grateful that my path went the other way, because football basically saved my life.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't heard about the boxer, and then the friends, your friends. Do you get to see them once in a while?
Yeah,
or no?
whenever I'm back in their hometown in Germany, I'm still in touch with them, and they all be like, "Hey, it could have been me, Schrocky, you know that." It's like,
Everyone
yeah,
could have been a
yeah.
footballer, right?
Yeah. But luckily, it was me. Really, like I said, they don't live for the future. They just basically live for day to day.
So going to Firth now, and then the your career was picking up, and then the Philippines learned about you, and then making your debut here in the Philippines, and eventually moving up and taking Firth with you in the Bundesliga, the promotion. How was that promotion battle like? What was it like? Week in, week out, particularly in the last few weeks of the season, where you had the chance, and then the results, like each game felt like a do or die game.
Yeah, we have my club Fürth has a long history in trying to promote to the Bundesliga. So with the second smallest budget year by year, they still were able to manage to have a good team. Unfortunately, the last 6 game days of the season, we always would lose to really shit teams, really struggling teams, and avoiding us making the promotion. But in that year when we moved or when we promoted to the Bundesliga, everything was just made for us. Everything fell in its place, and the do or die games became like so easy because we had that belief, that strong belief that we can make it, that we will go as champions to the Bundesliga, and we made it. Luckily, we made it. There were here and there was some struggles, but yeah, was a really, really great time in my career.
But after the promotion, you moved to another club, right? You didn't play for them in the Bundesliga. You actually played for another club.
I wanted to stay in the club, but the long-term contract wasn't in the mind of the football club I played for. So I moved to Hoffenheim, which is funded by a multi-billionaire in the software industry.
Mm-hmm.
So he was willing to give a long-term contract and a really good wage besides that. So I moved there and had one season there and then one season in Frankfurt.
That was obviously those 2 years where you were at Eintracht Frankfurt and Hoffenheim were very different to the previous ones that you'd experienced at Greuther. I mean, you played close to 200 league games for Greuther, and then that next 2 seasons were a little bit stop-start for you. What was the reason, do you think, behind those 2 years being a little bit difficult for you?
The year I went to Hoffenheim, the club called out Europa League or Champions League as a minimum to reach for the season. So we invested a hell of a lot of money to get all them players. I think I was one of 14 signings in this summer.
That's a lot.
And we had first training day, we had 33 field players plus 4 goalkeepers. All of them national team players. I'm not saying this is not like Philippine football national team players. I'm talking about Ghana, Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, all those French. We had
Vidal Ibisevic would have been there at the time?
No, he left in the
just
summer
gone.
when I signed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Van der Vaart was there? No.
No, it was Braafheid, for example.
Yeah.
He played the World Cup final
Yeah.
just weeks ago or weeks earlier before he signed. Or Ryan Babel.
Oh, Ryan Babel.
And all those
Yeah.
big names. The second goalkeeper of Germany, he went to us. He turned down Real Madrid and signed at Hoffenheim. So we had a lot of ambitions. And still, when I'm looking back, people would say, hey, you did not really play much games, but even make it in the 18 squad was like, the list hangs out the day before the game, who is in the squad, who is not. And having another 14 players not selected, and I was the one jumping in the 18-man squad was already a big deal for me. Obviously, I wanted to play more. I wanted to have more play time, but making it in the 18-man roster like 30 times of 34 was already a big deal for me.
But you played the right back position that time,
Yeah.
right? And like now, or in the Azkals, where you play on a more attacking side. What was that like? Playing in the Bundesliga, playing that position, and you're going up against really some of the greatest players in the world, especially in that position that you have on that team.
Look, whenever I got the chance to play on the weekend, for me, the only goal, like obviously when you play Munich, Dortmund, and Leverkusen, all of a sudden all the wing backs get injured, sick, and or having the 5th yellow card and being suspended. So it was always my turn, and on Saturday morning, right before the game, I always prayed, please, I don't want to be on YouTube the other day getting smashed or
Getting nutmegged.
yeah, by one of the best players of the world. But I did actually pretty good. Those games against Munich, Leverkusen, Dortmund helped me a lot, gave me a lot of confidence, and I learned a lot. And not getting smashed by the big guys is a big win for me, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, I remember playing you playing against Ribery and Alaba on one side. What was that like? Playing against these two, probably the best left-sided combination.
Yeah. The funny thing is, there's after 5 game days, there was a stats all over Europe saying who won the most battle and who went in the most battles. I only played 2 out of 5 games, and I was ranked at 3rd after Ramos and after Ashley Cole.
Right, really? Yeah.
So you can imagine that I was quite busy on my side, playing against Royce. Aubameyang was there, and Dortmund, and Ribéry, as you mentioned, and I and Robin on the other side. So it's not so much fun, but it was a good experience.
That was probably the strongest period of German domestic football as well at that time. I mean, the Dortmund sides under Klopp, the Bayern Munich sides. I mean, they were strong teams at that time, and probably the strongest league in Europe, arguably. Maybe Premier League might have their say, but I would say the German league was particularly strong. Playing at that level, week in, week out, how did you personally find it? Did you feel like I'm a little bit out of my depth here, or did you think, you know what, this is the level that I belong at?
Yeah, I always felt I belonged there. I worked hard in that time on me, and when you play in the Bundesliga in such a big clubs in such a good atmosphere, it's not always the guy playing who is in better form or in better shape. When I remember in Hoffenheim, the guy who played right back, he's supposed to sign at Juventus Turin. Mm-hmm. So it was the question if they get him in the summer break or in the winter break. So the transfer fee they were asking for my club was too high to afford for Turin in this summer. So they were like, okay, in winter, a little bit less, and then you can get him. He was also in the 25 squad for Germany. So he was one of the most talented and skillful players, right backs. Andreas Beck.
Oh, yeah.
So they saw him as a crown prince for Philipp Lahm. So that's the issues you deal with. And then when I went to Frankfurt, the coach saw me on two different positions, as a left winger or as a right back. So on the left wing, it's Takashi Inui. He's having 120 cup games back then for Japan already. And obviously the Japanese bring a lot of fans, bring a lot of money for the club. If he starts, they're gonna sell the rights. And he did really outstanding. So I could have probably get more playing time if the coach would have placed me at right back. Back then it was Sebastian Jung, but he had an immense transfer fee clause in his contract, so they want to sell him after this year. And obviously me, I was just a little add-on, fighting with the big guys, with the big names. But he was there for 17 years at the club, and they wanted to sell him. So unless it was Dortmund, Munich, or Leverkusen, I wouldn't get much playing time.
I think you were on that season at Frankfurt. That was a long one for you. You played in the Europa League. And 2014 was such a long year for you. That 2013-2014 season, and what's it like? Playing an extended season and then showing up for national team, because that is really world class players. That's really the type of season that they have, and most players here don't really enjoy that type of season, experience that type of season.
It was rough. At times it was really rough because we played the Europa League. We made it to the semi-final in the cup in Germany. So it's about additional 16 to 18 games plus the national team. So I mostly spent my time either in the bus or in the plane or in a hotel. Then you go to game. You have like Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday for 40 weeks in a year.
That's a lot.
And then afterwards it was Maldives. We played the Challenge Cup with the Azkals. So we played also every 3 days, every 2 days. It was like
Plus
really a long season.
Plus the boat travel.
Which we'll come on to later, I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah, it was a long year, really long year. And I was quite tired in the short break I had after the Maldives.
Oh, yeah. Does it feel like, the burnout? How do you deal with the burnout of a long season? How do you refresh? How do you get your juices back?
It all starts with the head. Mentally you are so tired of traveling, playing, and the body will just jump in. Then here and there you get a small muscle injury or being sick for quite some days or something like that. And but you have to manage your mentality, and then once you see the reward in the end of the month, you will go again.
Following that season, you returned to Greuther. correct?
Yeah.
Why the decision to return to your hometown team, I guess you could say?
I was about to sign in China.
Mm.
I can tell the number. There was $1 million contract on the line net. So it was just for 1 year, and my family probably would have forever money.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned earlier, I was just traveling. I was playing. I never see my kid. I never see my wife. I barely knew what's going on at home. So I bought myself a little bit time saying, look, I'm having this hamstring injury before I go to the medical test in China.
This was the one that you sustained in the Maldives,
Yeah.
playing with the national team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, I need some days off to recover from the injury before I go to the medical test. And then I was preparing my wife and my family saying, hey, look, I'm going for 1 year to China. I most likely know you guys won't join, but this can secure the family's future for quite a bit. So, and then my old club approached me. They said, like, Schrocky, look, we can get you back. We can give you a long-term contract, settle in Germany. You get to see your kid. You get to spend time with the family. And at the same time, you can create something, or you can work on your future after football. So to me, it sounded really good, seeing my family on a daily basis, see my kids growing up, and I signed the deal.
Wow. In exchange for $1 million.
Yeah.
That's, well, we'll do it for the family, but of course, when you have kids, it's different, and you have family.
Up to now, being 14, 15 years as a professional, I still don't know what has more value, the money or spending time with the family. So I try always to get a balance on it. And if you have to give up a little bit money for that, then you have to do it.
That's incredible. Not many people would do that. I think you need to have a very strong sense of self to make those sorts of decisions. And I think footballers often get a bad rap for always taking the money. So, the fact that you turn down a considerable amount of money in favour of being able to spend more time with your family is very commendable. So, something that not many people would have done in a similar set of circumstances. So,
yeah, you have to. I was grateful for the offer from China, because I know not many people get the chance to play for that big money.
mm-hmm.
And there obviously everybody, once you start being a professional, everybody's looking for the money. You have 10 years of time in average to get money as much as possible and then retire or go on from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I also know that every day the kid is changing. Like my son turned 7 this year, for example. I only attended 3 birthdays. This is for me. He probably does not really recognize it, but I do. I know it, and then that's heartbreaking for me. So I try to balance out money and time with the family.
Diaz was around what age when you decided on that China offer?
I was about to turn 3.
Ooh, that's a very exciting time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I missed out so many first moments. There's no second chance for a first thing from your child, like the first tooth grew, or I practiced for him for the longest time to walk by himself, and then I left for a Europa League game, and my wife called me like 15 minutes later saying, hey, guess what, your son running around the living room. I was like, oh, wow, great. I was trying it hard for the last 6 weeks, but good thing he started running by himself when I'm not around. So these things make me sad. I understand that we have a privileged life and we have an outstanding sort of level of life, being able to have only 2 hours or 3 hours work a day and getting this much amount of money. But at the same time, I want to be a dad as well, because you can buy everything but not time with your kid.
Yeah. And do you think a lot of that also is partly the experience that you had as a child when you grew up?
Yeah, especially that. So for me, when I was 7, 8 years old, my mom got separated. I only knew my mom. I only knew she's hardworking, and whenever she can make some minutes, make some times for us over the weekend, she would move hell on earth to give us a good time. Like we would eat the last 6, 7 days of the month. We would eat tuna from a can or with toasted bread. I back then I did not understand. It was we have no money. It was because of we had no money. I wouldn't understand. I thought like, oh, she thought this is my favorite food. I would eat this. Or I know my mom would sacrifice a lot for buying me new cleats. Like she would do an installment for 2,500 pesos. She would pay it over 1 year just to make it happen that I have a new pair of football shoes. So, and I know she wanted to have more time with me or with my sister, but she was not able to combine those things, money and the time. So I try always to be having both, giving my kids everything they want and having a proper dad at home.
For everyone's information, Schrocky has 2 kids.
Yeah.
7 and Manilo is
2.
2. Yeah.
I'm always quite interested with this because I'm a father as well. Also have two boys. Partly, I mean, one of the things that I remember you used to have self-made on your boots. It was one of the things, and I think you are very proud of the fact that you've earned everything that you've got, which is, judging by what you've been saying in this meeting, that a lot of it's probably down to your background and your upbringing, especially from your mother. As a father, do you get scared that because your mother didn't give you everything and you had to fight and scrap for it, that now as a father, if you give them everything, they're going to end up being
Spoiled
a little spoiled or a little soft? I know we're going a little bit off topic here, but is that? I think we're on quite an interesting sort of side note here as a father, because I know you're a passionate father and you want to be there for your kids. Are you sometimes a little bit nervous that you're going to end up having spoiled kids? Because you're a very driven individual. Like, I know you quite well, and you're very driven. You're very single-minded in what you want to achieve. Are you a little bit nervous that those same that same sort of driven personality will not be instilled in your kids, or are you seeing it now that no, actually they are very driven individuals, even at a young age?
Yeah, you're right on both ends. Basically, whatever toy or whatever I bring home is not just for the kids; it's also for me. It's kinda like, but yeah, I see it with the older, especially. He's now 6, turning 7 in August, and then he's just asking for whatever, and he gets it, and he has no idea where it comes from or what you have to sacrifice for making this possible. I always try to make him understand, look, you have a really privileged life. There's not much people, like, for example, he's going to school now. He's having a driver, he's having a helper helping him with everything. I would run to the school like 5 kilometers away in the city, like rain, snow, windy or whatever. My mom wouldn't give a shit. And we would have no money to jump on the bus and go like, okay, make it as convenient as possible for the little Schrocky. But he has it, and I try to make him understand, look, not everyone is growing up like you. Not everyone has these opportunities that you got. And he's probably too young to understand now, but later on he will. And I hope he will find that fire, that eager to make something out of him without using dad's money or dad's fortune for achieving something.
Yeah.
It's different, you especially here in the Philippines, like football, to me football was a door opener. It was like the only way out of my town. Like, friends in Germany from me in my town think they made it because they worked 3 shifts in a factory, which is a really good job, a good benefit from it. But to be honest, what is it like getting, having a social life for 2 weeks of the month because you work first shift, second shift, and then the third shift you sleep all night or you sleep all day, don't see your kids or something. So for them, they made it somehow. But for me, I made it because of football. And football in Germany it's like you make it, making money out of it, having a good life, having a privileged life. Here in the Philippines, it's kind of like a rich sport to me. You have to rent out a pitch. You have to pay a tuition fee to be in an academy or something like that. So I wish one day it will change, that Filipinos think, if I play football and can earn 200,000 pesos a month, I can provide for my family and giving them a good life, giving back to them. But hopefully it will turn that way for them.
Is that one of the reasons why you decided to move to the Philippines? I'm sort of trying to segue into this, into like your move to Ceres. Was that part of the reason why you came here? Like, one, obviously being able to spend more time with your family, and two, did you see it as, in you coming back to the Philippines, did you see it as a way to say to kids, look, you know, I'm playing in the highest level of European football here, but I want to come here to show you that this is the level that you need to aspire to. And every young footballer should be looking up to people like yourself, like a Phil Young husband, James Young husband, or whoever, and give them the opportunity to see you play. So there's two questions in that. But,
Yeah, exactly.
Is that one of the reasons why you decided to move here?
Yeah, because I grew up, for German conditions, I grew up poor. My mom was depending on social welfare for 5 years, which is like, I don't know, 20,000 pesos a month, which would be okay here in the Philippines to survive, but in Germany, you can't live for 2 weeks with 20,000 pesos. So I hope people will get inspired one day and see in football that you can have a way out of being in a call center or working for, I don't know, being a nurse. Or I'm not shitting on these jobs, really not. But I'm just saying, once you have a kid, he's interested in football, push him, bring him to trainings, let him watch football games, bring him a tablet, let him watch Neymar, YouTube things, whatever, just because you can have a good life for your family afterwards. My tita, her youngest, plays for Malaya Academy. She asked me, like, is it worth it? Because she lives in Bulacan. She travels 3 hours one way to bring Joseph to the training. And I'm telling her, look, Tita, is it enough if he earns one day 17,000 a month or 50,000 a month? She was like, that would be outstanding. That would be incredible if he gets that much out of football. So I'm saying, bring him to sport, bring him there. He learns, not only he learns for life, respect the teammates, follow orders, which is huge. Football gives you so much, not only in terms of money. It gives you a family, it gives you friends, it gives you a form of security, and it will help you along the way in life.
You talk about the move from Firth to Ceres, moving here. The decision, the thought process behind that decision.
I got told in Germany that they don't plan with me anymore. So even though I have another 3.5 years more contract, they said, look, you're the highest paid player in the club. We're not happy with your performance in the last 6 months. You have to leave. And the cut is just like that. So they told me over Christmas, when we go training camp, you won't be part of it. We move you to the second team, look for another club. So I was speaking to my wife, looking for decisions or for options, what we can do. And she said, go to Asia. You have an ASEAN passport. Look what is good for you there. So I spoke to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, also to the Emirates, like some Dubai and stuff. And then Martin Stoible called me. I was like, Schrocky, I read the news, you're out. I was like, yeah. He said, go on loan to Ceres. And I was literally laughing at him. I was like, bro, there's a different level we're talking about. Like, he said, no, man, we play the AFC Cup for the very first time. The league is not that good yet, but we will get there. And it's anyways just for 4 months. Get on loan, ask your club how much salary they can give you for this time, and then go back to Germany and start all over again. So I was talking to my wife. She said, okay, you know Martin, you know Manu Odd, you know Ingreso was there already, and then also Patrick Reichel.
Yeah.
So
Roland?
a lot of German.
Was Roland there?
Roland,
Was it Roland?
not yet.
yet.
So
Carly was already there.
yeah. A lot of Azkals players
Yeah.
plays at Ceres. So I was thinking, it's just for 3 months. Why not? And then I moved here to the Philippines, and I enjoyed it a lot. I liked it a lot. The owner obviously made it very easy for me. My teammates, not only the Phil Germans, also the local ones, they welcomed me with open arms. They showed me around. They teach me everything. So I was very grateful. And then from there on, I extended my contract for another 6 months. and then I moved back to Germany. And then I was like, after 3 or 4 weeks, I missed the Philippines already. So after my wife gave birth, we moved back to the Philippines.
That was 2017, right?
Yeah.
And you came back for that AFC Cup game, and then
For the final, yeah.
for the final,
for the
yeah, and
final
then you
against
won the
Some United.
final.
Yeah.
So that was a very very great time for we transitioned. You guys play in Bacolod all the time. I grew up there, so I pretty much know what's it like. But for you, being someone who came from another city, another country, and then moving there for quite a while, and then taking in the life there. What's it like for you? Is it too slow for you, or uh,
You adjust yourself. Yeah. No, the Germans are well known for being overcorrect in time in terms of when the departure is like no one will be show up. Let's say 5 is departure for training. No one will enter the bus at 5. Everybody is ready to go 10 minutes before already. So in the Philippines, it's a little bit a different approach to that, which I like, because you don't stress yourself out for details. You will just enjoy whatever you have. You be appreciative to those things surrounding you, and that's what you get teach here. And I liked it from day one, regardless on how not professional things working here. I liked it really from day one, and that's why I decided to stay here.
So talk about your time at Ceres. There's a fans, there's an ultras group. You play in Panad, packed crowds. What's it like with the club? And also, you talk about the owner, dealing with the owner who's been very very you talked about this. You're very friendly to you, like a father figure.
Yeah, ever since day one, it's not usual back in Europe to be in touch with the club owner or the club president. The second day I arrived in Bacolod, he invited me to the office. So we had a nice chat, and I thought, okay, this is it. So for the next 9 months, I won't be in touch with him anymore. But it was not that way. He invited all teammates to dinners, to having coffee, to talk about the games, the upcoming games. He was always basically in and around the team. So it was great to see someone that wealthy as him being that humble and being really like a dad to us. Like whatever problem, whatever concern you have, you can approach him and he will looking for a solution. You have to understand he's having 17, 18,000 employees under his company, and plus another 100 from the clubs, and having an open ear for each and every one is not usual. So we're really grateful for his approach to the club and to the players.
One of the reasons you stayed as well.
Of course. He made it. He make life so easy for you. He will look after you. He will call you up randomly and say, "Look, is everything all right with the team? Do you need something? Is the family all right? Can I help you with?" My son goes to school now. He was like for the longest time trying to give me a good slot at the schools here in Manila. So he's really helpful in every way, not only in football.
Well, obviously, Ceres have been extremely successful in the past 3 years in particular, not only on the domestic level, but in regional competition. I'm intrigued as to find out what the secret sauce is, because I've played against your team as a player. I've obviously coached against your teams, and we've had many battles on the field. But what is it, do you think, about, other than the fact that you've got outstanding players, but there seems to be a real togetherness with that Ceres group. What is it about that group that's enabled them to be so successful in recent years?
I think the coach plays a big role in our club. Riso Vidakovic is like, he don't like being someone stepping out of the line. He is always trying to point out that we are good individuals, but if we play 11v11, you can be as good as you want. You need the other 10 as well. So he's having a good moments with us, teaching us while doing it, that we're having a strong bonding together. He would treat us for Starbucks, talk about random things. Like he wants us to be brothers. He wants us to know what is going on in the life of the others. It's not like we are approaching the training, play, and then go home and no one knows shit about the other person. It's not like that. You talk about family, you talk about friends, you talk about girlfriends, what's going on in your regular day basis. So he is really good in that terms, and of course forming Ceres as a good club and team.
No, that takes a lot of, the continuity of Ceres has also helped you guys. You managed to keep your core despite a lot of players getting a lot of offers. I'm pretty sure a lot of your players get offers overseas, but somehow you've managed to keep this 4 or 5 players in there, the spine of the team.
Yeah. This is a result of the work between the owner and the coach. He will tell him, look, we need those players. With the success, of course, the players get more attractive to other leagues like Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia or something. And he's able to spend on the team, not only in terms of money, so also in terms of, let's say, like I mentioned earlier, for school stuff, he will help you out. He makes it so much easier. The less problems you bring on the pitch, the better you perform. It's that simple. And the owner of Ceres and the coach, they know this, and they make it happen that you have less issues besides football.
Highlight of Ceres so far has been that win in the AFC Champions League, reaching that final preliminary stage game. Can you talk about that upset in Australia, and then the next game in Tianjin, where you probably went up against some of the best teams in Asia in Tianjin, Guangzhou. You had Alexander Pato and Anthony Modeste there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Axel Witsel as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. He just went back to Germany and almost won the title. Huh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we went to Australia, and to be honest, no one was really believing it that we will beat the Australian club, the Brisbane.
Roar.
Yeah, and we just basically wanted to have a good game, taking as much experience out of this game as we can, and try to be a little bit annoying to them. That was our approach. But the night before the game, coach went to us in Australia and said, "Hey, look, I've seen them playing. I see you guys playing. Why can't we beat them? Tell me." He's asking me. I was like, "I don't know." He said, "How many legs do your opponent has?" Like, probably 2, same as me. He's like, "It's that simple. They have 2 arms, 2 legs. You can beat him." So we went there, we beat them, and then we had no visas prepared for China.
That's how unexpected that
Really
win was.
that much, yeah. So we just were able to get visas the night before, so we literally flew the whole night to China, and then by minus 11 degrees, we played them, and we did pretty well. We bought 2-0, 2 times Modeste, so he scored. But just introducing a club which is only 7 years old to the highest stage in Asia is already, it's unbelievable to make it to the 3rd round.
That was actually you had a couple of good chances before they scored, right?
Yeah, we do. We did have myself. I placed 1 shot. Then also Bienve had 2 opportunities, and then Modeste striked, and we weren't able to bring in another 10%. Obviously, we just arrived the night or the morning at the game day.
How big is the gap, you think? Probably on generally speaking, like you play optimum level for Ceres, and they play at the optimum level. How big is that gap between probably the best team and then in the Philippines and against the best in Asia?
I tell you what, Ceres is spending an outstanding amount for football to have the best players in the country secured playing for Ceres. Anthony Modeste makes in a week more money than the whole Philippine football will spend in the last 10 years. That's how big the difference is on money. But actually, when you've been on the pitch making it there, it's not that big anymore. Of course, they have a different approach to the game. They have a proper club, a proper league, a federation backing them, or or looking after them, then the whole nation is watching those games. It's different than to the Philippines, but single by single, you can get even or equal to the team.
I want to sort of change gears a little bit now, because you're talking about the best teams in Asia at club level. I want to talk a little bit about the best national teams at Asian level, because you played in the Asian Cup early on this year with the national team. You were the captain of the side. How did you find that whole experience, pitting your wits against the best countries in Asia?
Yeah, I think in terms of performance, we did not that bad. Here and there, if we would have got a different preparation-wise, we lack. We have to point this out, because the teams were preparing like 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of this tournament, and we just arrived. Help me out, like 6 days before the game.
We arrived New
together.
Year's Eve, correct? Or
Yeah,
the day
but
before New
you
Year's
guys were in Qatar.
Qatar.
Incomplete though.
Yeah. So every other day someone came or did not arrive or however.
Is he coming?
Yeah,
Are you really sure? I think one player, Patrick Strauss, came in like around the time that I arrived, like 2 days before the match.
Yeah.
In terms of preparation, we lack, and if we can improve this only a little bit, I promise you the Philippines are competitive to the best nations in Asia. We have quality players, we have a bunch of quality youth players, we have coaches. Basically, we have everything. What we don't have is a proper preparation for it. Someone who's having the money and the time to watch after the boys, because what we have here might be the golden generation for Philippines football. And if we don't achieve anything, like we did achieve something, we went to the Asian Cup for the first time. We're competitive over 3 games, but to make the next step, we need someone with a vision. We need someone like, not just because he's here, we need someone like Chris who can combine growing up in Europe, having this preparation side on him, and being in the last 9-10 years in the Philippines, knowing how the system works and how people approach football. So if you can combine this, we can have a really, really good football team.
We've had this conversation, actually. In our last training camp, we had a early morning flight, so Schrock and I were waiting in line, and we spoke for about 30 minutes about how we would do things differently if we had a magic wand and we were able to paint the picture of Philippine football as we imagine it. What would you do if you were able to take that magic wand or have a genie or whatever and have 3 wishes? Like what would you have the Philippine Football Federation, or if you were in charge of it, how would you change the landscape of football as we know it right now with the Philippine national team?
You have to start first with the grassroots, as obviously. The kids here growing up different than back in Europe. Basketball is all over the place. Like you see basketball literally 24 hours a day in TV. So you never get in touch with football on TV, really, if you don't want to stay awake until 2:30 and watch the Champions League qualifiers or something like that, So if we change this a little bit, and then plus making football not a rich sport, like you have to pay for everything. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to rent the pitch, you have to rent these, you have to buy that, you have to pay a tuition fee, you have to do all those things, which is not the usual case. And then with the national team especially, if we can bring in people, like we know things ahead. It's not like on Monday the FIFA will call and say, hey, Tuesday morning you guys have a game, or Tuesday afternoon you guys have a game. It's not like that. We have a FIFA schedule for the whole year, and we would know clubs can release the players, so let's say June 15 and June 25 is the game. Then please make it happen that the flights are arranged by that time, the hotels are prepared, the smallest things like football balls and kids are prepared, that the club are informed. Stuff like that would help immense. Immediately you would see there's a different approach, because what we have right now is bringing people in from all over the world, basically, 2 days before the game, 1 day before the game, 4 days. Coach, we can have the best coach in the world. If we have only 11 players at the starting day at the camp, what can he do? What can he do? Nothing. You can bring in Cristiano Ronaldo, make him a Filipino. He could not perform under these circumstances we're facing right now. So if we just do it not outstanding, I'm not asking for bring us in first class on the plane or have us staying in the luxury hotels or stuff like that. Just basic things. Make sure everybody's on time. Get the players paid for their efforts. The staff team paid for their efforts. Make sure they're feeling all right. Not outstanding good, just all right would be enough.
And where do you think that would take us? Because obviously we've seen it up close now. You know, in your mind, you might see, you put these countries, South Korea, Japan, on a pedestal and think that they're untouchable. But we saw them up close and personal. Like, if we were able to bridge that gap with some of those logistics things, with some of the organizational stuff, how close, how far away do you think we are from those types of nations?
If we have a proper preparation, we're not far.
Yeah.
I think we can be equal because the players we have are good enough to compete with them. They're just facing headaches beside football. That's it. The travel, the organization. If we can place these things in order for the team, we can compete. South Korea, we can beat Australia. We can having good games against Saudi or the recent winner of the Asian Cup, Qatar. We can just be equal with them. Or right now, if I draw the worst case, we go to the Asian Cup. Like the result we had at the Asian Cup, despite what happened before, is already a huge result. Nobody will notice because we lost 3 times and we bow out in the group stage. But people don't understand. We had players coming in 3 days before the game. This is not a proper preparation. You cannot perform. This is not possible. Like I said, bring in Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. He will not perform on this type of preparation.
Well, with that, even with that preparation, it was 0-0 against Korea for almost
70 odd minutes.
For more than an hour.
Yeah.
You have to give credits to the coaches. Like Eriksson was back then, and then Scott, Cooper, Chris. They've tried to squeeze in whatever they have in mind for 14 days in just 3 days, because the last person or the last 2 players arrived 3 days before the game, and then you have to squeeze in everything, all the information, all the hard work, all the research they did. They stamp on the preparation, stamps on the hard work of the team, and this is not fair.
Wow, very revealing on that one, especially. Yeah, but of course, we know what's going on behind the scenes. But right now, we still have the World Cup qualifiers coming up in the next cycle. Are we gonna be seeing you again? Because you joined the camp in China last time, but previously in the Asian Cup, after you scored, you hinted at probably not doing the national team thing anymore, and probably retiring from the national team.
Yeah, I play with a thought, to be honest, because I wanna have time with the family and not dealing with those flight issues, with those allowance issues, with those simple things which is basic for football. I don't want to deal with these things. But this is also a big plus what the team has. Not only me, also Chris, also the guys who played back then and the guys who are recently in national team. They have this much love for the country and for the people and for their roots, that they're willing to face these circumstances and play for the nation still up to now. And I'm one of them. I really love to play for the national team. There's no better, no greater feeling for you, no bigger honor than representing your country. And that's what made me stay another World Cup qualifiers to play for the national team, because I tell you, do one thing what we did in the camps with the Azkals, with the German national team, and they're all Germans. No one will show up anymore. No one. None of them. The Brazilians, the Argentinians, or Japanese. If they have to face this adversity, what we have to face, they will not show up. Of course, they have 180 top-level players. They can just easily replace them. But do we have them? Do we have a pool of 180 players with that skill, with that talent, that much talent? No, we don't. What we have is the love for the country, the love for the flag, and that's why we go on and on and on. And we learned it from Rob, from Ali, from Chris, from Simon, from Neil, from all of those players back 10 years ago. They waved the path for us basically, and they showed us how you have to approach the Philippine national teams, and that's why we all still play.
What's the future hold for you now then? Not just in terms of the national teams. I think you've given us your version of that events, but what does the future hold for Stephan Schrock and the family? You planning on staying here long term? Do you see yourself moving back to Germany? What's the plans for you moving forward?
I used to have like a sort of 3 to 5 years plan in my life, but every time I did that, some accident or some whatever happened.
Like you grow a long-term contract
that
you signed?
Exactly, yeah. So basically we were planning to stay for 5 to 8 years at the club.
Yeah.
Well, 1.5 years in, they told me, hey, you can leave. So
what would you like to do? Would you like to go into coaching?
I would love to be in and around football, because I think what football gave to me, I'm just a random kid from a poor area in my hometown. So what football gave to me, it can give to the others. It can turn out well for someone. And why not sharing and teaching the football things to the people here in the Philippines. We are made for football. Look at us. 5'7", 5'8" tall, quick. Everybody is quick. Everybody is skillful with the ball, and everybody loves to move. So this is things what Filipinos can do. Why competing in basketball when the other nations have like 2 meter 20 guys in it? We can make or leave a mark in football. God made us this way, so why not making the best out of it? Football is always there. Like in the next 5 years, I try to be in and around football for the longest, for whatever I can. I try to be a coach, or maybe I'm setting up an academy or something like for those underprivileged kids, giving them a chance to chase their dreams, giving them the chance to secure the family's future, or helping out. Just helping out is enough already. That's my plan.
That's brilliant. I mean, we've asked, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this interview. I want to be quite respectful of your time, because we've kind of spent a lot of time doing this interview. But is there anything that we've missed, or anything that you want to bring up? And we haven't even touched on the boat incident in the Maldives. We haven't even touched upon that. So is there anything that you want us to cover that we haven't covered, or you want to sort of shed light on something to give a bit of insight to some of our
probably
fans?
Top 3 moments with his Azkals career. Probably with the Azkals, so because it's there's a lot of course there's a national team. A lot of people are interested on your most memorable moments with the national team.
No, besides being on the pitch with the Azkals, the most memorable moment to me, honestly, was when we had to go to the game. It was the first group stage game we had against Afghanistan. So Maldives, we had to take a boat to go to the stadium, and it starts pouring, like raining, storming, literally, really, on the sea, and we on a small, 10-seater boat or something.
Good for 30 people.
No way. It was quite.
But it's quite cramped up.
Yeah.
So, and then the waves mid-ocean, like halfway, the waves got so big that the guy who's responsible on the boat, I don't know if he was the captain or just some random guy, he said, hey, we have to transfer boat. The boat might not make it. And then I was looking like, what did he say? The boat won't make it? What do you mean?
This is in total darkness as well.
Yeah.
In the middle of the sea, total darkness.
It was so dark. Oh my goodness. And then panic set in when the guy said, okay, just there's a boat coming. Don't worry. just use the what is it called, the wooden thing,
Wooden steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the wooden steps, and transfer to the other boat, and the boat is like just bouncing at each other, like it's impossible to even take one step on that wooden thing to transfer the boat, and then
without really falling off in dangerous
the ocean.
waters.
Yeah.
You know?
So I thought, okay, I sit here and this is it. I called my wife earlier, so the last words were actually nice. This is it. But now we can laugh about it, but it was really scary. It was a really scary moment.
Do you remember doing the prayer?
Yeah,
So the boats are sort of crashing against each other. And I remember someone going, I think we should say a prayer. And we should, normally I'm all for a prayer, but that was pretty morbid at that time. I think we all realised, oh my gosh, like something serious could happen here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after the prayer, you guys were singing. Everyone was singing, and then I had a video of that one. It pops up on my Facebook memories like every May, because it happened in May.
Yeah.
It's like, this really happened, and that not even that, you had to play a game.
Yeah. So basically, we got on the boat. Yeah, we actually ended up getting on the boat. No, we stayed on the boat.
We
Sorry,
stayed
we
on stayed on the boat.
So we
Yeah.
stayed on the boat and we got transported to the main island. To which point everyone was seasick and
Like as soon as you guys stepped off, I remember Paul Mulder's throwing up,
yeah.
you throwing
Yeah,
up.
me
Sick,
too.
yeah.
I never knew what it's like to be seasick, but on that day I would experience it, and I will never forget it. You best believe that it was unbelievable, really unbelievable.
And that same boat actually went back to the island and picked up the Afghanistan team.
yeah.
And kickoff was delayed for like an hour and a half, I think. And then I think that ended in a goalless draw. Like everyone, I think, didn't play to their best.
I think. Do you remember what else happened in that particular day? Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember in the change room, the locker room before
Oh
the game?
yeah, of course. When
Do you want to tell everyone about that?
I think it was Rob. Rob organized a motivation kind of like video for us. So after the warm up, before we went to line up for the game, Rob turned off the lights. The projector was showing the video, and then there was family members and
Friends.
friends, family members, whoever was there.
Yeah.
Like literally for every player, someone had a message to say, and the music and
Clips of
clips
the
and
games, yeah.
everything. It got so emotional. So I was holding back for, like after 30 seconds, I was holding back my tears, really trying not to cry. And then it's dark in the room, and we're sitting, we all in that circle. And then I hear someone go like this. I just let go. I was crying, and everybody else was crying. Lights went on. Everybody, teary eyes, red eyes. You can tell everybody was crying. So after the game, Rob and you, I think, sat down, and then I just randomly hear like, "You think it was a little bit too much?" I was like, "Yeah, it was way too much before a game because the
Especially a
message-
game where we almost died on the way to the stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
besides
Yeah,
that,
but that was, if you go back to that, that was really an emotional tournament for a lot of people, especially that was our first opportunity going to the Asian Cup.
Yeah.
And, I remember, in the Maldives game, you scored, and then, we won that in the semifinal. And then in, Armani Aguinaldo, that was his breakout tournament.
Yeah.
And then losing the final to Palestine, it was really difficult because Palestine had their own compelling story,
Yeah.
True.
and we were actually neighbors on that island right there. Like your cabin is here, and then a couple of Palestinian players are on the other side. So you lost your boots there. So
Yeah, I lost a lot of things. I lost a lot of things there, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
that was a really great time, and that was very emotional after that.
Yeah, this is the things, like I said, the memories you carry with the national team, with the Azkals, it was always outstanding when Rob was there still, and up to now we're still looking for someone like Rob when he gives you the speech. Like, of course, everybody would know the preparation was not good, and everybody's a little bit tired or whatever, jet lag from the travel. But once we step on the pitch, Rob gave his speech. Everybody was focused, like don't bitch around about the small issues we have. He would point out how the average Filipino lives and how the overseas workers sacrifice, and he will always find a good speech to us, so everybody will be like, okay, we don't have the right to complain about for the next 90 minutes. We just give it our all and then hopefully get the win.
Wow. We missed Rob. We might have Rob here next time.
We should get Rob on, yeah.
Yeah.
We should.
Maybe we might be in tears before this show is over.
Too emotional. But I think that's a good story to finish on.
Yeah.
It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show. It's some incredible insights. I mean, again, I've known you for a long time, but some of the backstories to your own personal journey was incredible, and I'm sure the listeners are going to really enjoy that as we have too. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Yeah, thank you, Schrock. I've interviewed so many times already, but I didn't know that your dad was a boxer. And then there's a lot of stuff covered, and of course, we all have the same hope for Philippine football.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us come and see us today. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you all the best with the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. It was an unusual interview, kind of like, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
It was a tell-all, actually.
yeah, because you always ask the same questions on game days. So change your approach a little bit.
That's why we have it. We have this podcast. So
Yeah.
that's an area we can explore. Right.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for catching Across the Line. If you want us to continue doing more episodes, subscribe to us on YouTube, download our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Also, drop a comment para tuloy-tuloy itong Across the Line.